We will straight away move on to the next interaction, which is making the Make in India to happen by extending the role of higher technical education, higher education. We have with us Air Commodore S.J. Mathew. I would request Air Commodore to please come on the dais. Yeah. We have with us Dr. Swapan Bhattacharya, Honorable Director, NIT Karnataka, to please join us on this deliberation. Dr. Bhattacharya. Air Commodore S.J. Mathew, he has just come. We also have Rear Admiral S. Nejun Chazian to join us on this forum, on this panel. Sir. And on behalf of Campus Management Corp, we have their MD, Mr. Raj Mrityunjayappa, to steer through these deliberations as well. Mr. Raj Mrityunjayappa. Yeah. The entire ambitious program of Make in India, which has been unfurled by the Honorable Prime Minister, it has a dimension of attracting the foreign capital, foreign direct investment under various hues. A lot of enabling the business provisions and creating. Mr. Raj is here, so please join us on this panel. A bottom-up approach, which probably somewhere is required, and some of the pointers of which were given in the session one, were how the industry, how the higher education institutions can top up, and they can provide the real technological interventions and the real academic support for the Make in India to happen. Because more than the foreign capital, it is all about the technically trained manpower, the real innovations and the research, the applied, appropriate and the advanced research which is required to produce the modern day goods and services. So there is a need, there is a large need. We have a good representative from the defense fraternity, and also we have Dr. Swapan Bhattacharya from NIT Karnataka, which is also known as NIT Surathkal over there. So I would request Dr. Bhattacharya to give his opening remarks on this entire possibility of extending the role of higher technical education to straight away link up with the national priorities in terms of Make in India. Dr. Bhattacharya. So maybe from there? Oh, sure, please.
Namaskar and good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. This is probably one of the most relevant topic in today's scenario. So before I get into this topic, I was listening to previous panelists. Just I'd like to spend 2-3 minutes on that topic in relevance to Make in India. We all talk about quality. To me, relevance is more important than quality. Many of us, we can have an expert in vacuum tube of highest level quality, doesn't have any significance. So very rarely we talk about relevance, which I do again reiterate, more important than quality. And in relevance, by relevance in today's world, we mean today is we have to work on unification of social science, life science, management science, and all associated science technology together with technology as the driving force. Today, medical science means, orthopedics means strength of materials. Mechanical engineer is supposed to teach orthopedics. Electrical engineer is supposed to teach cardiology. Which medical institute in India teaches that? Today, for one of the kids, most sought after, internationally sought after combination is sociology, statistics, and computer science. I work on business analytics and social networks. Tell me which university gives me the option of choosing this kind of combination. So I think we have to reflect very seriously on this issue, number one. Number two, we always talk about IITs, IIMs. I happen to be in IIT Bombay, IIM Calcutta, as if every faculty of every IIT is better than every faculty of every institute. Every student of every IIT is better than every student of every institute. Many of our alumni are very well placed in US, Europe. How many of them are from IITs? Just see, many so-called Tier 5 institutions alumni, they are doing exceedingly well there. For me, in terms of value addition, many Tier 3 institutions are doing much better than the topmost IIT. If you see what is the level of input they get, what is the level of output they get. So, the value addition is more important to me, considering the amount of input, including taxpayers' money, that is spent for these elite institutions. I'm being very frank. So to make in India happen, first thing is we have to think of hundreds of institutions. Just 5-10 institutions cannot work. First thing is we have to think of hundreds of institutions. Nowhere in the world you have Stanfords, MITs. An institution is an institution at the specific institutions. Time has come to get out of the concept of family of institutions. You compare IIT Bombay with NIT Surathkal. How do you compare IIT Mandi with NIT Surathkal? No comparison. So, time has come for us to get out of that mindset. Yes, some institutes are doing very well, but as an institute, not as a member of a family. So, in this background, I would like to say that first thing is we have to have at least 100 institutions to make in India happen. Next step is, yes, these public institutions, including NITK Surathkal, I think we have a moral, ethical, social responsibility to handhold the institutions surrounding our locality, at least within our state. How many of these public institutions we allow Saturday, Sunday to be used by other institutions surrounding our campus? Many small institutions, they cannot afford to have mechanical, civil laboratories. And deliberately they keep generally Saturday, Sundays open. I know. But how many of us do handholding? So first thing is, I would suggest, if there is a possibility of making a summary, identify some domains depending on the states. Karnataka could be mining, could be IT, depending on the requirement of the locality. Punjab could be agriculture, something like that. Identify some specific domain. Everyone is not supposed to do everything. Then identify 1 or 2 public sector academic institutes, and they should have the mandate to handhold at least 10, 15, 20 institutes surrounding that place on that particular theme, and with a clearly defined objective that, again, in India we talk about private institute, public institute, private funded institute. There are only 2 kinds of institutes, good and average. There cannot be any other qualifier for an institute. Who knows whether Stanford is private or public? So, change in mindset is even more important. So, as an action plan, first identify the domain, then identify the institutes, a group of institutes, and then we have to identify a few industries on that particular domain who are ready to join the consortium. And then have some definite deliverable action plans with time frames. And then, instead of making very big reports, let's get the job done, even in a small way, within a specific time frame. So with this opening remarks, I'd like to conclude, and I'd be happy to take questions later on. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. A very elaborate and a very impelling proposition indeed. I would now like to bring in Raj Mrityunjayappa over here, because sir has mentioned a lot about interdisciplinary aspect like mechanical engineering really interacting with an orthopedician. And in the earlier session, there was a talk as to how technology can, I will say, shrink a 4-year program or something like that. So as to how he sees technological role coming in to really move this entire narrative. So.
Thank you. I'm going to be sitting here and making the point. First and foremost, hopefully all of you are aware of the Swachh Bharat program, right? And I said the Swachh Bharat because it is a very important program that's going on in India. When you think Swachh Bharat, initially it was about taking the broom and cleaning the roads. But then as this days progressed, people started expanding the value of what Swachh Bharat meant. They said we should clean the minds of people. We should take corruption out. We should take all this out. So Swachh Bharat just became a larger and broader view from just cleaning the streets. Today, if you ask Swachh Bharat, everyone has their own vision. But you'd be surprised, very few people will say Swachh Bharat means clean your toilets or clean your road. They will all have a broader vision than that. The reason I actually pointed out is because Make in India is also going to be a program like that. Make in India is not about bringing some foreign companies to come and actually develop the technology in India. Well, I'm sure defense would say, let's start from there. But it is a much bigger aspiration of this country. It would require us to build a new type of DNA within the institutions that we are actually, where the kind of students are coming out of. It is the DNA that has to be built in to everything that they do. We talked about, let's give them skills. Let's actually give them programs that actually make them employable. This requires a lot more than that. You have to build skills in them to be innovative, to think outside the box, to come up with ideas of their own. And I can ask, this whole group that is sitting here, how many of your institutions actually even go out there and patent some of those ideas? How many of these institutions here go out there and say, I have a great idea, let me go and patent this idea. Let me create innovation centers in this, because that is what you need. You need a DNA of these youngsters to be built at that stage. It has to be built from the school level. It has to be built at the college level, a degree level. Only then when they come out, they can think of the problems that they want to solve. Innovation has to be at the heart of this if Make in India has to be successful. So when I think about Make in India, the best way to actually make things in India is to solve problems of India. This is not to actually make something in India to be sold somewhere outside. That I can tell you, campus management has done. As we have another brand, Talisma, we have done. We have created products in India and sold globally. That is not going to change the world. That is not going to change India. What's going to change India is if I can make products in India to solve problems of India. And that would be the much larger vision of why Make in India should be then translated to Made in India, which should translate to solve problems of India. That is the real way actually we can actually progress as a country. Now if you think from, I talked about, we talked a lot about Industry Connect. Of course Industry Connect is important. Instead of actually running after the industries to come and listen, come and actually tie up with me, you should tell me to do. The better way to go about it is if you actually build that innovation culture within the institutions, if you actually build the culture of, I'm going to have my institution patent ideas, come up with great ideas, I can guarantee you, Professor Sadhgopal was talking about the next level where the industry should actually come and partner, they will run after you. Because we want to be tied up with institutions that are progressively thinking about innovation, ideas, future, solving tomorrow's problem. And that is what every industry wants. And that's what we would all look forward to. Now, how do you actually connect the dots here? How can we actually make this all work? And in my view, I think technology is a lever, a platform to make this, enable this whole thing. We need to have a center of excellence that has to be built, which could be cutting across the institutions, where ideas and platforms can be shared using technology. That's the starting point. We can continue to evolve that platform to actually bring in various institutions onto this fold. When I say institutions, not just about educational institutions, but also defense, it could be other areas where problem statements can be brought up. And ideas can be, you can say ideated, if that's a real word. You can ideate through platforms. You can actually challenge the next generation of students and teachers and all the stakeholders in the institution to say, let us solve real problems, because that's where real problems are posted. And collectively, you can use technology as a platform to solve real problems for a country of our size and our dynamics. I mean, for a country of, like today there was a great example, for a country of 1.2 billion people, there were only 11 people doing the job, right? And the rest of them were all actually watching them do the job. That's because of a cricket match, right? So, this is a country where you can actually connect people if you know how to connect them together. 1.2 billion people were glued to one television box. So if we can actually come up with great ideas, you can get the vision of all these 1.2 billion people to be thinking in one direction. And it's not a far-fetched idea. A cricket match can do it. Why not a great idea can do it? So I think we can bring this whole country together. Make in India is a great concept, and hopefully technology will be a lever for solving this.
Thanks, Raj. I think Air Commodore S.J. Matthew would like to put forth as to what are the real problems which the Indian Defence Base and Air Force in general would be looking forward.
May I request the Rear Admiral to start off? We have a seniority issue here.
No, I don't think in Make in India there is no seniority issues. I would like to give a perspective from the defense services point of view, because I'm neither in the education institutions or nor in the industry. We are the users or the beneficiaries of both of these. Make in India is more relevant to us, to the defense industry, because for our country to be safeguarded and to be secure, we have to be self-reliant. Okay. To give an idea from the naval point of view, we are saying now we have started building our own warships and aircraft carriers, but how much of it is indigenous content? The ship's operations can be divided into three aspects, that is the float, move, and fight. The float is the designing of the ship's hull and the deck machinery and such things. So in that part of the shipbuilding, we are at about 90% indigenous capability. When it comes to move, that is the propulsion engines, shafting, propellers, and the auxiliary equipment and systems, we are somewhere around 40 to 60%, depending on the type of the propulsion, whether it is a gas turbine or a diesel engine or a steam with the boilers. When it comes to the fighting aspect of it, that is the weapons and sensors, we are very much low. It is somewhere or between 25 and to 30%. Most of the weapons and sensors we import from various countries, starting from US, UK, France, Germany, and it goes to even to the other side, to Korea, all over the globe. We have some 54 types of radars and some 28 types of sonars and various things. In this, there is definitely a need to indigenize and to be more self-reliant. Now, for us to make sure that how Make in India happens, we have to first of all map the requirement and map the expertise that is available. Even if we want to indigenize something, we don't know which academy we should go to get some consultancy or some help. Of certain areas we have come to know, like for example for our marine infrastructure or some civil structure, we go to IIT Chennai, or for some, we have taken some consultancies for boat designs and to carry out some wind flow effects or turbulence in onboard aircraft carriers if we fit something on the flight deck with IIT Kharagpur. But it would help us to go out and reach to the academic institutions if they can document and publicize what is their expertise, in which all fields they are willing to undertake some research and give assistance to us. And similarly, we are also in the process of documenting what are our needs, which are the things which we feel that can be indigenized. If these two things are initially started up and mapped together, I think we can initiate it and it can progress well. And towards the aspect of research, the defense services have also taken some interest in promoting research within the services as well as using the institutions. We have Army Technology Board, Naval Technology Board, or Naval Research Board by the DRDO, and INTB by the Navy, wherein this is mostly applied research, where in the field, if they find something needs to be modified or something needs to be improved, they come up with some proposal and we tell them to link up with some academy where they can get the consultancy, and then we fund these projects. But these projects are facing problems in going ahead smoothly, in the sense these projects are being sanctioned and being operated using the defense procurement procedures. Research is not a procurement. For research, you have to give them fund and free hand for them to use that money to be expended, and probably at the end of it, you may not get the expected result. Research is such. Whereas in our defense procurement procedures, they are asking for, like in procuring equipment, the institution should give a performance bank guarantee, or we should have some LD clause in when you are offering some project, which I think will definitely stifle. No professor or some institution will be willing to take on these classes when we are asking them to take some consultancy. So we are working on that, how to go about either giving a concession or formulating different set of rules for Make in India. And the other areas where we definitely need assistance from the industry is the propulsion system integration. So for a ship, we select some engine. For this much power is required, we select an engine, and the displacement of the ship is decided because these are the fit and accommodation space required, everything. And then what is the type or the design of the propeller required? What should be the strength of the shafting that is required? So we don't have that expertise. We go to either Russia, to Krylov Institute, or some European institution for this propulsion system integration. As an initiative in the Navy, we have set up a cell in Naval Scientific and Technological Laboratory, which is a DRDO organization in Visakhapatnam. It has been initiated, but I think it will take time to grow. But if some academic institution has some expertise and some interest in this, I think this can be developed at a much faster rate for us to be self-reliant in this aspect as well. That is all I have to say. And to conclude, for the Make in India to happen, not only we have to equip our engineers but we should also, like you said, we have to cleanse our mind. After equipping them, it should not happen that they go abroad to get a better salary. So they should also have the aptitude and pride in their nation to give back to the nation and make our nation strong and secure, both economically and defense-wise. Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me? Thank you, Admiral. I'll take on from where the Admiral has left. Sir has gone to the specifics, and since I am only the color of the uniform is different, I am from the Air Force. It is applicable to Air Force as such, almost the same way. The aviation, whether it is communication, radar, or propulsion, power plants, aerodynamics, all that is applicable to Air Force in each and every way. Now, before I voice my opinion, I would like to know if anyone is there from the public sector here, or ex-public sector like BHEL, HAL. So that's a good. It's a good side. What I am arriving here it is. The US War Department realized that 50 years before, they realized that defense, it's a very highly technology, intense field. So the state cannot handle it alone. It has to be the private, it's their voice. And over the 4-5 decades, it's working, wonderfully well. Not only the panelist here has discussed about the disconnect between the private sector and the industry and the academia. Here we have a disconnect between, the defense and the industry as well. And there is no connection, at all here. So that is the reason why the US has gone in for that model and is working wonderfully well there. We have for some reason inherited the state model, wherein maybe could say that partially Russian, but again in the 90s they are also changed into privatization, except for few assets which are of strategic nature. Here, the government, of course, is doing a lot of things wherein to bring in the private partnership as well into the defense. So, in US, for example, you have, say, Air Force. I mean, I do not know about the US Navy. There you have something called the ULA, that is the United Launch Agency, wherein you have Boeing and Lockheed Martin launching Air Force satellites. Can we imagine that in India? I don't know when that is going to happen in India. Initially, they had given only to one agency. They had, that means what? It is not, it is private alliance. It is in industry, private alliance. It's not the government private alliance. So the same way, if it happens in India, the Make in India, Make in India possibility. See, because India was made on the map of IT, not by any public sector. It was a very strong statement, but again, it's a fact. It's the private industry which made India on the IT map. So the same way, I feel intense, interaction between the private industry and the defense would be a very, very vital via media through the academy, so that the defense could be benefited and the country. In fact, aeroplanes were invented thanks to the First World War. We had jet engines, which were thanks to the Second World War. You take any field, medicine, communication, or any material. The engineering material is thanks to the wars. I'm not saying that we should create war to for, but again defense. No, for making see that's the reason why maybe they have invited two uniform personnel for to speak here to express the views on making Make in India possible. With that, I think I've taken enough. The others also has taken. I think we are running out of time. It's it is a possibility, and it should happen that way. It's not that, the state-run, the PSUs should be, isolated, but again, they can also play a very creative role. But again, I feel for the competition to happen, the monopoly should be at least scrubbed, not stopped fully. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. We can take up a couple of questions from the audience on this.
So the Make in India, just what I dreamy thing is, our Prime Minister said, whatever see in other country or other places, or whatever you dream, you make it in India. That is the way just I'm viewing it. And everything, as the sir said, everything we cannot make it in India, but you should have self-confidence and culture. You have to create everything we can make in India. That is what I feel that. But actually, the university point of view, sir was saying that any interdisciplinary research is possible, all that. Sir, in the university system, for example, in Annamalai University, we have near about 49 departments. So in that, probably whatever degree you take it, there is a core subject, there will be an elective subject, there is a foundation courses. Even in elective subject, there is generic elective, open elective. You can go for open elective other than department, faculty level. Even other faculty also you can go. And even now, the trend has come, you can go beyond our university or beyond India also. For example, even now, we are collaborating with the Tennessee Technology University, BE, MS, BE, MBA. You can do BE here and MS 1 year here, 1 year in Tennessee Technology University. And probably filmy, you may think now, but the day may not be far off. We have to produce an engineer, the international level, everybody should accept. So they should own a national degree, international degree, something like that. So that is the way we are proceeding it, sir. But that the sort of contribution only the university can give. And in that, I think so. And not only that, while you are doing your UG program also, you can additionally do some type of diplomas. That facilities also the universities are providing it, sir. So this is my humble submission to you in this correction, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Shashidhar from SJ College of Engineering, Mysore. My question to Officer Admiral. It's very nice that you suggested where the defense organizations and defense can collaborate with the educational institutions. Probably you were telling about the documentation. Some documentation which you can, if you are able to, if it is not strategic or classified, which you can share with universities or education institutions, probably that can information be made public. Whoever professor or student is conversant with that can certainly contribute to that. So you can think it in that direction.
Yeah, certainly we are working towards that. No, to say that what is indigenous, what is foreign, it is not that strategically classified information. We are certainly documenting that, what is our requirement for indigenization, and it will be soon, I think, should be made available to the institutions wherever they can provide assistance in that. To give certain some example, for example, Indian Navy's more than 60% of the ships are propelled by gas turbines, which are manufactured in Ukraine. As you all know, now Ukraine is in a big crisis. The nation's existence itself is questionable at this stage. So from the naval point of view, we are wondering whether that manufacturing plant, which is in the southeast of Ukraine, is going to remain part of Ukraine, or it will go and merge with Russia. There is a big concern. We had taken initiatives to develop gas turbine indigenously through a DRDO organization, GTRE, Gas Turbine Research Establishment in Bangalore. But even after 15, 20 years, there is no usable product available. probably we have now realized that probably we cannot start from the scratch from the drawing board and develop a gas turbine. Maybe we have to get in technology transfer from abroad, and we should be able to absorb that technology. So whatever is the product which is coming out from academic institutions, they should have their fundamentals very clear so that they are able to absorb this technology. And if we decide, okay, in next 5 to 7 years, we should have a gas turbine of our own, we should be able to do that. That is the requirement, that is the need of the today. Another area where we are using the technology available from abroad and building on that. For example, recently there was some underwater technology conference in National Institute of Oceanography and Technology, Ocean Technology. There they were talking about, they have done some survey of ocean waves and thermal conditions from east coast up to the Port Blair Islands. How it was done? Through an ROV, remote operated vehicle, on total automation, remotely controlled. But where was this made? This was procured from US. But we are using that, and we are building up on data for forecasting tsunami and things like that. But there is a need to take care of the initial base as well. We have started a research project in IIT Delhi where we have a naval construction wing in IIT Delhi. They have started this autonomous glider project, and that wing and NIOT are now in a partnership to progress this project at a faster pace. So we have realized that setting up a naval wing in IIT Delhi has greatly helped us in getting a quality product from the IIT as well, and they are better used in the service. Another requirement that we feel, which is shortfall at present, is we send officers for MTech programs to IITs. They do some courses in gas turbine technology or noise and vibrations. But what we see is when they come back, they are not that much equipped to practically do things. So when somebody has done a post-graduation in gas turbine technology or gas turbine thermal engineering, when he comes, we expect him to not only know what is happening inside, we want him to do maintenance as well as to assess the health of the engine. So we feel that there's some practical content needs to be included in the curriculum, wherein the candidate is able to or should be aware of what are the noise and vibration equipment that should be used to assess the health of the engine. And they should also have some, like in doctors do clinical case studies. In industry or wherever it is, if a breakdown happens, what is the problem, how to go about it. This much of practical content, if it is included in the master's program, I think they will be much better utilized. So that is the expectation with which we send the candidates to IITs for post-graduation. Maybe this can be looked into by the educational institutions. That's all I would like to say.
Thanks a lot,
you.
sir. I will request Professor Bhattacharya to sum it up on the behalf of academia on that. Sir.
Thank you. Two things I'd like to share with you here. First of all, to make in India successful, what has to be must is we have to be globally competitive. And skill should be given equal priority as knowledge. Now, to be globally competitive, the major roadblock is, as a system, we not only protect mediocrity, we promote mediocrity. I am telling it emphatically. Our country does not have any system to promote excellence. I give you 2-3 examples. On one side, we are talking of bullet trains. I was in Japan last week only. Yes, we need bullet trains. At the same time, in our country at the moment, we have quite a few very good national highways where the cars can easily move at 200 kilometer speed. And thanks to globalization, we also have those quality of cars. But we have to make law so that they cannot move beyond 60 kilometers per hour. The car is capable of moving, the road is capable of sustaining. There are certain countries where there is no speed limit. On one side, we are talking of 60,000 plus some astronomical figure for trains. On the other side, we have everything in place except the mindset. This is mediocrity. In my sector, academic sector, there is a funny rule that a student has to attend 75% of all the classes. What does it mean? Authority is saying that you can bunk 25% of the classes. Number one. And number two, if somebody is really excellent, he will attend 10% of some of the classes and he will not attend probably 50% of some other classes. Even being the director, I do not have any option. So I have to enforce mediocrity, otherwise he cannot go beyond a certain level. I told exactly the same thing to the minister. I met her a couple of days back in a forum. The secretary was also there. From MHRD, every month we have to submit a report, whatever you have done for the weaker students. Nobody has ever asked whatever we have done for the stronger students. Nobody has ever asked what we have done for the stronger students. So, unfortunately, this is where we belong. That mindset, as I said in the beginning, the moment a student joins a private institute, the entire society bombards with him with a mindset that usko to kuch nahi hone wala hai. He is gone. This has to be broken. And similarly, yes, I do agree that some good IITs are doing good research. But I can tell you, our country in 5 years would be a different country if we can ensure 50% or 20%, top 20% BTechs of 5 IITs can be retained in the system. Who are doing research in IITs? All those mediocre students? Those bright BTech students, how many of them are there in the system? So, there again, we are seeing IIT Delhi, but we are not seeing who are doing research there. It's not their BTech students. It's the BTech students of some so-called Tier 3 institutes, they are only there. So, this has to change. That means excellence has to be rewarded. Similarly, skill. Today, we know who is the best doctor in Chennai. Do you know who is the best nurse in Chennai? Do you know who is the best mason in Chennai? So many real estate things are going on. Who is the best carpenter in Chennai? So long as this, in fact, Make in India is very closely associated with skill development program. They have to work hand in hand. Otherwise, one cannot be sustained. So, first of all, skill has to have social awareness. I came from Japan, as I said last week. In Japan, salary of a primary teacher is same as the salary of a university teacher. So the idea is, if you want to be a teacher, choose whom you want to teach depending on your passion, not because of your salary. That's why schooling in Japan is considered to be one of the best in the world. And it's very common that some university teachers sometimes goes back to primary school to refresh themselves because the salary is same. So I would not take much of your time, but again, my ultimate conclusion would be, let's do something where excellence is recognized, and somehow it has to be put in place. And once we can do this, everything else would be taken care of. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. Raj, would you like to give the closing remarks?
No, I think, I've heard all the distinguished speakers here say all the right things, and I can only say this, that I come from industry background, and a lot of things that you all have said, sir, I can tell you this much, that it doesn't reflect when we go out there and try to get students to come and work for us. I can only say that to you, because it's almost like we scratch from ground zero, we build them up again to what we need for the industry. So while I am sure the intent is all there, I am sure we're all working towards the goal of making this the right way. I can tell you that I think we have to evolve with the time on the education standpoint. I think we have to move into the era of building competency into the student versus building knowledge. Knowledge is important, but you have to also build competency. For example, leadership competency, competency in terms of innovating ideas, competency in terms of working as a team member. I think these are some things that has to be built in this system, and I think that's when we can actually use this. And again, you would be probably surprised, or you would agree or disagree with me, that most advanced countries have implemented technology to solve a lot of these problems. And the funny thing is, when we say the same thing here, they would say, no, technology is only a lever. We say technology is your platform to solve problems. I mean, you have to be able to connect it to the world to know what your problems are, measure where you stand so that you can actually solve the problem. You don't know where you stand, you can't measure where you are, you're not going to solve any problem. So leverage it that way, and obviously a lot of learned people here, we can all collectively put together our heads and come up with how to solve these problems. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Raj. With this excellent closing, we would move on to our next session. I would request Raj to thank all our panelists by presenting them a stole. Rear Admiral Nedun Chezian. Thanks a lot, sir, for your valuable inputs all across. Dr. Swapan Bhattacharya, for his real passionate and forceful reflections, and Air Commodore S.J. Matthew. So thanks a lot, thanks everyone for really gearing up this making in India to happen. As Raj mentioned about that, can technology be the real platform to solve all the challenges which were discussed since this evening, and what the documentation issues which Rear Admiral mentioned about at greater detail.